Got us an interesting topic on our hands.
Always.
This question is, how do you know if someone is the one?
Insert some music.
Insert music, lovey-dovey, everything. Theatrical music. Go ahead, do your thing. What you think?
When it comes to that, I think I'll begin each of these off with That way you kind of collect your thoughts.
Don't worry, that's a part of my dictionary too. Don't even lie.
Let's see. I don't know if you ever really know. It's just something that ends up happening. Maybe you just don't really. You don't really know because the way things are now. One day you could get married and then you could be divorced and then you have somebody else and you never know. But maybe it's just like something you feel that is something that you I don't know have to think of. It's something that you don't really think about. It's just something that kind of comes along. You don't really have to think about each little individual traits. It's just someone that you end up being with, something that you just feel. If any of that makes any sense.
Yeah. Um, I'd like to argue that I don't think it exists at all. Like the whole concept of the one, I don't even think it exists. Like I think at the end of the day, I think it's just a decision that you make. It's just a choice at the end of the day because those those feelings that people have about the one are very fleeting. Like you and I both know that we can name tons of times. Like it is gonna sound very pessimistic in a sense, but you can name tons of times where you may have thought that somebody was the one, but it's kind of like the idea of it. Like it's not necessarily set in stone just because you feel that way. Because there's tons of times where I feel a certain way, but that ain't what I do. You know what I mean? Like I may feel like, hey, I feel like quitting something, like quitting a passion or whatever. But sometimes that spark is still in me, and there's still some people that have that spark for something and don't do anything or act on it. I feel like it's just a decision you make. But I feel like this concept of the one may be something that's big in our culture because of like movies and music. No disrespect, obviously, because I'm an artist and I make music about things along those lines as well. But I feel like there has to be this reality to it. Like Disney movies, for example, like they're set up to have this happily ever after story because at the end of the day, you would hate the movie. You would hate the movie if you paid $10 to go see a movie and the people did not have the reaction or it didn't have the ending that you wanted.
Sometimes I actually think it's better well written if they switch it up on me. But I get what you're
Very
saying.
true.
A lot
Very
of
true.
times people people get confused with these Disney movies and they kind of give people just this wrong idea of how things should be. Like you never really see what happens after the Disney movie.
Yeah, yeah. When they gotta wash dishes, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Argue about that.
when Cinderella was yelling at Prince Charming and made him mad, and all he's trying to do is watch the football
I
game.
don't.
But it's stuff
Oh.
like that you just never know.
Yeah, like I think that I think that the idea of the one or having the idea that there is someone out there is egotistical. And I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty because I have sometimes in my pursuits of women or whatever, I would be like, yo, this person right here has everything that I need. So in a way, I'm not even thinking about them. At that point, I'm thinking like, what is it about them that I can get that can fulfill me? And I've been reading heavy like on just books about these type of things in particular, and I'm telling you, man, they've been humbling me because I see in myself like a lot of times how I can I can have this idea that there's this person out there that I don't know who it is. It's just some person I'm gonna meet down the road. And granted, I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and that um, things things line up the way they do for a purpose. And if not, you learn from it. But I also feel that a lot of things like that are manifested. Like, it's one thing, and I'm kind of deviating from my original point, but it's one thing to say, this person solely has everything I need. That's like me saying, this job has solely everything I need that I have. Well, it's one thing to just think it. What do you got to do? You got to apply. You got to follow up. You got to have interviews. You got to do the process. There's a process to it that creates that feeling of appreciation for your job, for your family. You know, those kind of things you manifest. I don't really think that it's something that just comes to you just because it comes to you. You know, that it. I feel like it's an ego thing there.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I think that I just still think that maybe it's just something that you kind of that you just got to kind of think about on a case by case basis. Like everyone's situation is different.
Yeah, everyone's situation is different, and I also want to throw this in there too. Like, I think people who've conjured up this idea of there being a one, I feel like they're missing out. They're missing out of people who could potentially add value to their life. I feel like they're missing out because they're so fixated on that idea that anybody else that comes along, oh, they're too basic. They're basic, passing them up left and right. Now, I mean, yeah, it's some things you just can't work with, some things you can't. But sometimes it's just when you have your eyes set on one thing, anything else that comes your way, it don't matter. It ain't worth exploring or at least venturing into. And I feel like if anything, that's doing you damage. So I think it's just a process of really just you that person becoming that one for somebody, if that makes sense.
You got to work on yourself.
Yeah, work on yourself. So let me know what y'all think. Do you feel that the concept of the one exists? Let us know what you think. Peace.